The morning air is damp, heavy with the scent of rain and smoke. Cobblestones glisten under a pale sky, still bruised from the night before. A crowd swells in the town square, shouting, spitting, shoving forward. In the center, two men drag a young woman by her arms. Her dress is torn, her bare feet cut by jagged stones. Metallic shears flash in the sunlight. A single snip, sharp, final, echoes over the mob's roar. Golden strands fall, twisting in the air, before landing in a puddle streaked with mud and blood. Someone laughs. Someone cries. Someone throws a rotten apple that bursts against her cheek. And then, silence. She stares straight ahead, her eyes unblinking. Because she knows, this is only the beginning. Just 5 years earlier, these same streets trembled beneath the boots of the Wehrmacht. Columns of tanks rolled past shuttered shops, their treads grinding over cobblestones. Nazi flags unfurled from balconies, snapping in the wind. The Blitzkrieg had come like a storm, sweeping across Poland, Belgium, France, the Netherlands, Norway. Entire nations were conquered in weeks. And in the chaos, the rules of life rewrote themselves overnight. In cafes, German officers lit cigarettes for local women, their laughter curling through the air like smoke. In markets, soldiers bartered chocolate, stockings, and tins of meat for whispered company. Some women leaned in willingly. Others, only because hunger had a face, and it wore a uniform. But liberation changes everything. Where once, couples walked arm in arm beneath occupation's shadow, now those same streets bristle with rage. Every handshake, every smile, every night spent with the enemy, now counted, remembered. And soon, paid for in public. France, summer 1944. The war is still raging in the east, but here, liberation has already arrived. The guns are silent, but the anger is not. In a small village near Caen, the church bell tolls, not for prayer, but for judgment. Men in armbands herd a group of women into the square. Some clutch shawls around their shoulders. Others hold children tight against their skirts. A name is called. The crowd surges forward. Two men grip a young woman by the elbows and push her to a wooden stool in the center of the square. Her hair is long, dark, and tangled from days in hiding. The first lock hits the ground. And the crowd erupts. A boy no older than 12 hurls a stone. It strikes her arm. She flinches but does not cry out. Word spreads quickly. Soon, similar scenes unfold in Rouen, in Lille, in villages that never appeared on a map. The punishment leaps borders, Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, Norway. But in the frenzy, something else is lost. Among the accused are women who had risked everything to seduce German officers, slipping coded messages to the resistance. Now, stripped of their hair and dignity, their secrets die with them. And the crowd never asks the difference. By August, the ritual is perfected. The stool in the square. The shears or the razor. The waiting crowd. But now, it's not enough to cut the hair. In Paris, women are dragged barefoot along the Champs-Élysées, swastikas smeared in tar across their foreheads. Some are stripped to the waist, their humiliation turned into a parade. Jeers echo off the stone facades as photographers push through the mob, eager for the shot. In a Belgian town, a militia forces a line of women to march with placards hanging from their necks. I slept with the enemy. The paper swings in the wind as they stumble over uneven stones, their faces pale but set. The sound is always the same. Laughter, sharp and ugly. Booing that drowns out the women's breathing. Somewhere, always, a church bell. And behind the noise, personal scores are being settled. A jealous rival. A spurned suitor. An angry neighbor with a grudge buried since before the war. All of it now disguised as patriotism. All of it cheered on by those who, only months before, kept their heads down and said nothing. Through the camera lens, it looks simple, women punished for betrayal. But the truth, if anyone cared to look, was tangled. In a farmhouse outside Amiens, a woman sits in a dark corner, cradling her newborn. The father, a German sergeant, had promised food for her starving family. When the liberation came, the villagers spat on the child before they touched her. In Norway, a girl barely 17 explains to a militiaman that she had no choice. A German officer threatened to shoot her father if she refused him. Her words vanish under the sound of the scissors. These children, born between enemy and home, would be called Tyskebarn, enfants de la honte, children of shame. Abandoned to orphanages. Denied their fathers' names. Growing up as living reminders of the war's most uncomfortable truths. And then, there were those who wore their choices like armor. In Paris, Coco Chanel entertains Nazi officers in the Ritz, exploiting Aryanization laws to seize business control. In Berlin, actress Lida Barova smiles beside Joseph Goebbels, her career soaring even as cities burn. For them, collaboration was not survival, it was opportunity. Yet in the mob's eyes, all were the same. Hair shorn, paraded, marked forever. Some would vanish into exile. Others would live among their accusers for decades, the punishment never truly ending. By winter, the crowds thin. The war's final battles rage far from these squares, and the fever of vengeance begins to cool. In one coastal village, the last woman is brought forward, a widow accused of feeding a German patrol. Her husband had been dead 2 years, her pantry empty. The shears close on her hair, the strands fall, and no one cheers. The militia's armbands fade in the wash. The photographers drift to new assignments. The parades of punishment end. But for the women, there is no ending. Some are barred from shops. Others find their doors marked with chalk. A few disappear entirely, leaving behind silent houses with curtains drawn. And for their children, the war will never be over. In a Dutch schoolyard, a boy is shoved into the mud by his classmates. Collaborators brat, they sneer. He is 7 years old. These last moments of the purge are quieter, but the wounds they leave are deeper. No liberation parade, no victory speech, will heal them. Decades later, the photographs remain. Black and white frames of women with shorn heads, walking through jeering crowds. Some stare at the ground. Others look straight into the lens, defiant, unbroken. Historians now sift through the truth, uncovering stories buried under shame and silence. They find evidence of coercion, of sacrifice, of survival bargains made in the shadows. And they find the children, now elderly, still carrying the weight of names they were never allowed to speak. In Oslo, a woman meets her half-brother for the first time. He is the son of the German soldier who fathered them both, but in different homes, in different worlds. They laugh, they cry, they wonder what might have been if war had not chosen their bloodlines. The gendered nature of the punishment is undeniable. Men who collaborated often faced prison or exile. Women were paraded, stripped of dignity, and left to rebuild in the ruins of their reputations. The golden lock of hair from the opening scene lies in a museum case now, labeled simply, France, 1944. A relic of a war fought not just on the front lines, but in the hearts and bodies of civilians. Some call it justice. Others call it vengeance. History calls it complicated. If you were there, if it was your sister, your mother, your friend, would you have joined the crowd? Tell us in the comments. And if this story gripped you, share it, so others can decide for themselves where justice ends and vengeance begins.